So a monthly bill for your retirement is $371?
That was an underage, no, underpayment for December.
You knew that you wanted to pay?
Yes. But it's not just that. No.
I mean,
It doesn't sound so bad.
you say by the time you retire, you'll have about $250 jillion.
Exactly.
Have they ever given you a projection?
No, they haven't.
You should ask.
Funny you ask, because I was
A monthly.
I was looking for it on the internet.
Derek, paging Derek.
There we go.
The good news is we no longer have a table and all kinds of junk in the room. The
Hey.
bad news is they're way back there and they
Derek.
can't hear us.
Bueller.
Okay,
We should try the text message.
here we go. Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors meeting for the wonderful town of Sevastopol. Call to order on Monday, January 20th at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead, start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, let's start with the roll call to see if we have a quorum this evening.
Supervisor Linda Waite,
Here.
Supervisor Mark Hain,
Here.
Supervisor Jeannie Vogel,
Here.
Chairman Dan Wolfel,
Here.
Supervisor Trent Olson.
Here. Oh, great. So we have a quorum. Let's meet our guests this evening. We will start in the front row.
My name is Renee Borkovitz. I am a professional engineer at Stantec, located in Sturgeon Bay. And I also live in the town as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Terry Kirscher, Tina Kirscher, with the property down at 5309 South Lake Road.
Wayne Greenboys, 5343 South Lake Road.
Good evening, Hugh Zettel, District 14 County Board Supervisor, 3986 Linden Drive.
Cool.
Jim Kirscher, Terry's brother, and this is my wife, Mary Chris, and we live 3 doors down from them.
Are you here for moral support?
Yeah.
Oh, good luck. Okay, well, welcome. Thank you for attending in this nice brittle evening. All right. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on public participation regarding something that's not on our agenda tonight? You do? Raise your hand. If you don't, all right, we will move on. I assume our agenda was properly noticed,
The agenda has been properly noticed.
and then should we make a motion to adopt that agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
All right, motion by Trent, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. All right, motion carried. Approval of the minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting December 16th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of Monday, December 16th, 2024.
Motion by Jeannie, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. All right, as we move on, our first item of business revolves around, something wrong?
I mean, they're
Oh,
quite loud.
sorry. Oh, we got carryover. All right. First item of business tonight is discussion and action on Terry and Tina Kirscher, who are represented tonight by Renee Borkovitz from Stantec as well. Petition for variance from the Door County floodplain and shoreline zoning ordinances regarding placement of fill and setback from the ordinary high water mark on their property at 5309 South Lake Road in town of Sevastopol. And since I know that you were before the Plan Commission, I'm going to turn this over to the chair of that committee, Linda.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, our Plan Commission met on January 7th. We only had 4 members present, which is still a quorum out of our 7. It was attended by the Kirschers and 3 of the neighbors, plus engineer Renee Borkovitz. We reviewed all of the information, and that same information is included in your packets as well. If you have those packets in front of you, I am going to reference some of the pages in our packets, in our board meeting packet. The request is for a variance from the county's floodplain zoning ordinance, the new ordinance that was put into effect in 2024, which requires a 15-foot setback, and also a variance from the ordinary high water mark. This is on Clark Lake. The ordinary high water setback is 75 feet. I don't know, Renee, did you want to do a short recap of your presentation? I don't know. Otherwise, we have all the information.
Yeah, I mean, I can essentially kind of.
Why don't you just do a record? And I think you wanted to incorporate, I see that you have a an architectural drawing of the building now, and I think there was another topic you wanted to bring up as well, which we did not have at the Plan Commission.
Sure. So to begin, essentially is, on the site right now is a small cottage, and the owners are proposing a new residence that they can live in full-time. And some of the requirements that they need for their house, which you can refer to those house plans, is that they desire to have that flush entry, due to aging parents and their own health issues, right, to provide a means of living in the house as long as possible for themselves and bringing in family members as well. So one point being able to have everything being flush, and so there was consideration for having a crawl space, which,
Hold
created
on.
conflict.
I'm sorry, Renee. Are we having a problem, Derek?
Oh,
Your mic's not on.
Nope, it's
So
on.
it's on.
Sorry
You can
about
pick
that.
it up or move it or hold it in your hand, whatever
Or
works.
take it off the stand.
There you go.
There you go.
There we go.
You don't have to start over.
better, all right. And so there was consideration at, during the planning stages of the house, to have a crawl space versus the current slab proposal. And that would have provided the space for the utilities, water heater and such for the building, but due to the width limitations of the lot and grading elevations that would be necessary for the floodplain ordinance, it's now a slab on grade, and as a result, all those utilities also have to find a home on that first floor as well. So, as a result of incorporating those items into the floor plan, the layout of the floor and the total extents of that house are what they are, currently shown, which, as a result, portions of that house fall below the base flood elevation and therefore are in the floodplain. And as a result of now being in the floodplain, they also have to meet the requirements for that ordinance, which include the 15 feet of fill, which needs to be 1 foot above the base flood elevation, and as well as the first floor being 2 feet above the base flood elevation. So because of the extent of that floor plan, we're still within the building zone, so everything meets the shoreline zoning setback, the side yard setback, the road setback. But at 15 foot of fill, we are as close to 11, 12 feet from the side yard lot lines. Therefore, we're shy about 3 feet of meeting that 15-foot minimum requirement. And therefore, as another means of that width of the house and the fill requirement that's needed, retaining walls are going to be necessary on the lot lines in order to meet the minimum height elevation of that 15 foot of fill. And part of those walls are going to fall within the 75-foot setback from the ordinary high water mark. And because they are considered like an accessory structure versus a residence, they have the 75-foot setback, whereas the house has the average 60.5-foot setback. So there's a little bit of difference, between the retaining walls and the house in that regard. And so therefore, those are kind of the hardships and the unique circumstance that we're looking at here. Regarding, public safety, this house specifically, it's going to meet that 2 foot above the base flood elevation. And that 15 foot of fill is, in regards to the floodplain, is a means of helping to protect the residents against the potential risk of flooding. And even at the 11.5 feet, I'm very comfortable that we are minimizing that risk as much as possible to prevent this residence from flooding. In regards to the neighboring parcels and not wanting to increase or cause any harm to the neighboring parcels, we are proposing to have drain tile behind those retaining walls, and the downspouts of the house would be connected to that, to minimize runoff directly onto the neighbors' parcels. Both neighbors' parcels are built up. You know, they'll be similar to the same elevation as the proposed residences. I would say maybe within 6 inches, give or take. So the risk of contributing any stormwater runoff that would inadvertently cause flooding on their lots isn't an issue in this regard, compared to some parcels where, right, as neighbors build up, then there's always that one parcel that ends up kind of being the low pocket along the whole line. And in this case, Terry is essentially the one who's kind of running into that situation right now. And along with the drain tile, we're also, you know, based on the Plan Commission discussion and talking about water runoff and trying to ensure that we're not adding any more runoff to the neighbors' parcels, and that we're providing a means of moving that stormwater runoff. In the very front of the parcel between the house and the road, there is an existing low spot that carries onto the neighbor's parcel to the east. And what we don't currently have shown in the plans is, and we had discussed including, would be an additional depression, essentially a rain garden, adding another 6 inches, 8 inches, which would essentially create a low spot on this parcel, not only to receive the stormwater runoff, you know, from the driveway and a little bit from the road, but it's also connected to the neighbor's parcel as well. So it would essentially kind of be a shared low spot between both parcels.
Okay, thank you. We really struggled with this at the Plan Commission, but the 4 of us did come to a recommendation to not support the request, and that was primarily based on the Board of Adjustments expanded decision-making criteria that used to be a couple paragraphs, and now it's 3 pages, and that is on pages 13, 14, and 15 of your packet. And we also based it on the county's draft report that stated the proposed residence could be designed to be narrower, and that there was more buildable area. And that's on page 19 of your packet. The major point of discussion was the new floodplain zoning designations. That's on page 24 of your packet. As you can see, that floodplain has expanded dramatically compared to what it was in 2009, which hardly, I don't know if you want to pass that down, this was not included in the packet. I was kind of surprised, but hardly any of that parcel was in floodplain, and you just purchased the parcel in 2023, unaware that new floodplain ordinances were coming down. And likewise, a lot of the other properties are now in floodplain. So after that meeting, I tossed and turned all night. I really did. And I thought I should be representing the best interests of our residents to have a happy and comfortable home and not doing the job of the Board of Adjustment. You know, that's their criteria. I don't think that's my criteria. I believe the Plan Commission put a little too much emphasis on what the Board of Adjustment dictates versus what the town supports. And in this case, it's residential development in a residentially zoned parcel already. The construction is in line with the neighboring parcels and residences. The conversion to a comfortable year-round home, I support that. And it's consistent with our comprehensive plan. As far as suggestions, if you can tweak the plan to make it fit and have less of a variance, but there again, the shoreline variance is 15 feet we're looking at a maximum here of 11 to 12 feet. Not a big deal. The shoreline setback is 75 feet. We're looking at 65 feet here. Again, not a big deal, and it's not any closer than the existing residence. So I apologize to the other Plan Commission members for changing my mind, but that's how I feel now, that I would support it. And I know Mr. Zettel has some comments that he would like to add, correct?
Yes,
Or
if
maybe
I
not.
may, is it on?
That's it. Yep, we
It's
can hear
on.
you.
Okay,
Thanks.
great, thank you. As Supervisor Waite noted, the town has had experience with how, we have favored, some of these decisions on variances only to be surprised by the Board of Adjustment and their kind of strict adherence to their 3 criteria. Like Linda, I was driving home and I was, also a little torn relative to our proceedings, and a comment that Mr. Kirscher had made literally kind of in passing was making a note when a question was asked about the dwelling, that they had designed it so the parents could live on the first floor and they would live upstairs, so to support aging in place. And that hit home with me when I drove in my driveway, which we recently remodeled for aging in place. And if you're designing a home for aging in place, your hallways have to be wider to accommodate walkers, wheelchairs. Your turn radius, your bathrooms have to be bigger. Your doors have to be wider. And all those sorts of things, had they had the ability to, had a chance to really discuss that, to me, that would be textbook relative to definition of hardship. If you look at the land use recommendation saying they should, maybe consider making the dwelling smaller, right? It's not like they had a 3-car garage and they could just lop off a garage. They kind of had that minimum already. And with this new information that Ms. Borkovitz has brought up about the fact that it's on grade, and so now all your utilities, your HVAC, et cetera, is also on the first floor, that takes a lot of space too. So at the time I said, the land use department's assessment of they could just make the dwelling smaller, all other things being equal, is a fairly benign comment and maybe common sense, but knowing the concerns and the things that are put into this dwelling for aging in place for their parents, the fact that, you have a sibling or that lives, right down the road, that I think is a compelling argument that trying to reduce it when you're trying to achieve that goal, truly, to me, I think is a hardship. And, I contacted Ms. Borkovitz, that evening to say, hey, I think for added information to the town board for consideration is to bring this information relative to the house, what it's going to be used for, some of the literal limitations when you think of hallways, doorways, added size that's mean to accommodate that goal. To me, I think that is a valid argument for hardship. And the other one too, relative to one of the other criteria, is it in the public interest? And as a member of the county board, we have one of the largest aging populations per capita in the state, but aging in place is important. It improves quality of life. It actually reduces government costs because you're providing quality of life and care in the home. And so to me, that is a compelling part of the public interest that I think should also be part of the consideration for the town board. So if we, in hindsight, having the housing information, I think we could have had a more robust discussion about hardship and public interest. So that's why I appreciate Supervisor Waite the ability to provide that feedback as well. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, and the hardship too, the floodplain, the new ordinance, that was beyond the owner's control, obviously. And that's a hardship as well. So, questions from the board. And
I'm
Mr.
I'm on the plan
Olson
committee.
is on our plan commission as well.
Yes,
So,
I'm not.
did you toss and turn all night, Trent?
yeah, yes, you know, I begrudgingly, it was the word I used, supported it. But I did come here tonight to ask the board to go the other direction on that and ignore the plan committee's decision. But really, you know,
Plan Commission would be happy to hear that.
no.
There's only four of
Really,
us.
you know, as I looked at it, some of the bigger items that drew to me, you know, the support from the neighbors. We had a lot of support from the neighbors.
Exactly.
The house is very similar. And as I look on page 24 with the floodplain drawing, the house directly to the west at the 5907 location, right now would be completely under the floodplain. You know, we talked about how we've seen water very high and water very low over the last 10 years, and that resident did say that the sump pump never turns on, never had an issue with flooding, anything like that. So I feel that this, it's a unique property, it's a unique problem that the floodplain is causing the issue. And yeah, I'd like to support the variance.
So we've all had a revelation. All
Yes,
right.
yes.
So
If I-
3 out of the 4 that were there.
3 out of the 4 are here, right? So I don't know if the board had any questions for Ms. Borkovitz
I
or the
just have a
Kirschers.
comment. The aging in place, and I happen to be involved in a steering committee now, forming a board for the whole benefit of aging in place. So, you know, it totally makes sense, what we're trying to achieve with helping people to stay in their homes. And so, in many ways, I applaud you for, you know, thinking about your folks, and it's a good thing.
Themselves.
Yes, and
They
yourself.
don't look like they're spring chickens at this point. I do have a couple questions, but I think you touched on one of them already. The adjacent landowners have no issue with this?
The gentleman on the west side was at the previous meeting with us, and I don't think he really voiced any concerns at all. He was in support of that.
He was supportive.
Right, he was, right.
On the east side, I've talked to that gentleman, you know, all through the summer months about, you know, our plans for building and things like that, and we had talked about actually trying to blend the land together, because he's up pretty high and he's coming down to the lot line at an angle. But he's also concerned about trees, you know, and if we filled in and came up to his height or whatever, it would kill trees. So after all those discussions that we had, we went back and forth a couple of times more recently. I think it just makes more sense to put the retaining wall in there and not risk, you know, putting his trees, you know, at risk. So that's kind of where we left it.
So most of the properties on either side are newer, not old cottages from what I can tell from the pictures?
Yes.
So we're not gonna be faced with somebody else building and another issue with drainage and whatever? Okay. And you've agreed to pay triple the taxes for the first year if this is approved? I thought that was one of the things you mentioned to me, Linda.
Well, we
Okay.
could, well, I guess we could put that on.
All right,
the
we could put
condition.
that condition in. All right. My concerns were really the adjacent landowners, and we didn't want to create another problem by supporting it and then having future problems on runoff, which does happen periodically, so I'm good.
This area up in the corner by the road or whatever, I think we've really addressed that with what you worked on the last couple of weeks, to take the runoff from them into our yard, into that rain garden. So we shouldn't be spilling anything back over to them. We should actually be picking up anything that they might run off. But to tell you the truth, I mean, in the time that we've had the property, there hasn't been pockets of water after rain sitting there. I think we're sitting on a pile of sand, you know, and it just doesn't accumulate the water. But
Okay. I'm good. Anyone else?
Are we ready for a motion, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
All right. I would move that the Sevastopol Town Board support the request for a variance as submitted by the Kirschers in their packet, and then we can go into reasons and the other recommendation form after that.
I'll second that.
Oh, I didn't even get to say we had a first and a second, but that's fine. First by Linda, second by Trent. to support sending a letter to the Board of Adjustment from the town supporting the request for a variance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that's only the first step in an uphill battle, but
Correct.
Good luck.
we will do that.
So watch for the notice of hearing from the Board of Adjustment.
Perfect. Yeah, and February 11th is the,
It is February 11th? Yay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Should we quick go through the reasoning? So the reasons for the town decision, I've just got some notes here that it's a residential development expansion in a already residentially zoned parcel, that the construction is in line with neighboring properties and their residents, that it's a conversion to a comfortable year-round home and aging in place. And, okay, it's, let's see, residential development in a residentially zoned parcel. Construction is in line with neighboring parcels and their improvements. It's a conversion to a comfortable year-round home, including aging in place enhancements. That should cover everything. No objections from the neighbors.
I think you might want to consider including Renee's comments relative to the fact that it's on a slab and that utilities, the requirement footprint for utilities had to be incorporated into the living area,
Yeah, sure.
which I think only builds off of the fact that you can't necessarily shrink the place and still try and meet the objectives of having hot water and a place for mom and dad. So something
Okay.
along those lines. But that would be my ad.
Thank you. Is the proposal consistent with our town's comprehensive plan? Yes, definitely. Again, residential in a residentially zoned area. Concerns or objections the town may wish to see potentially addressed through conditions. Are there any conditions we want to place on this? None? Okay. You good with that, Amy?
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
you're
Good luck.
welcome. Good luck.
Yes.
All right.
I think I can sleep tonight.
All right, our next item on the agenda is authorization for payment of the February 2025 vouchers, bills, and claims in lieu of the board meeting. As you all know, the board meeting's been rolled from February into March this year, a little different. So we would need a motion to,
I'll move to authorize payment of our ordinary and usual expenses for that time period.
all right, we have a motion by Linda,
Second.
second by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, hearing, good. There's a topic here called the 2025 newsletter. I don't know whose topic that was. It was on my agenda.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
place that on, or was that Amy that placed that on?
Well,
It was me that placed it on there.
And are you leading the discussion?
Well, we need to start looking or
it
drumming up ideas.
it will not be 12 pages like our last newsletter. So I think we'll go back to the standard of, what did we have, 8 pages. So, again, put your thinking caps on and come up with some articles for us. Mark, you should have a lot to say because our new restaurants will be open.
Restaurants.
Restrooms.
What are you
mean
serving
there's
over
not a
there?
restaurant?
There will be, but it's not gonna be real.
That was
It's gonna be
good.
limited seating.
That was
So
really
there's
good,
It's gonna be
Linda.
limited seating.
There's a page right there, it could just be photographed, so, you know, before and after.
Of what we're serving in that restaurant?
Yeah, and AT&T, you know, we can do another
That's-
recap on how
I
that
was gonna say,
progressed.
yes, yes.
Chairman, your choice, maybe the EMRs or something like that
What's your,
from Mr. Olson, so.
last year's issue slipped a little later than I think that you
We
wanted,
did,
right?
we were waiting for, I think, maybe the reval or something like that. But, you know, let's shoot for the middle of July, that's when most of our people are here, and it's a good time to catch everybody,
So you'd want
So-
articles by
by June 1st.
June 1st. All right, sounds reasonable.
Thank you.
we have automatic updates from everyone that's on the board. So Trent, you would do EMRs, just, you know, for food for thought, kind of go right down the road. All right, sounds good. We will go after that. Okay, if you recall from our board, from our budget work session, we decided that we were not gonna redo the $7,000 plus commitment to regional planning.
Right.
In lieu of that, which they did our phaser evaluation, which is due this year, I propose that we hire Delmore Consulting, which has been advertising extensively in the Wisconsin Towns Association Engineering Group, and have them do the road evaluations for us this year. And before I picked up the phone and called them, I just wanted to get your buy-in. It'll be about half of the dues, but I think it might be worthwhile to have somebody that is a professional and give us their evaluations and see how it looks compared to ours when we do the road tour. So,
Well, they're always soliciting in our WTA magazine. They've been
Right.
doing it for years and years. I did get a call from Brandon Robinson from Bay Lake Regional. Of course, he was disappointed that we weren't renewing our membership with them, but he is gonna bring up some topics to their board. Like, if you opt out, you can never opt back in. And who knows, maybe our county will eventually come around and go on board,
Pay for
and
it?
then all municipalities would automatically have a membership. So he was disappointed, but understood the money factor.
I think we had kind of indicated to him that we were gonna be taking an alternate route, but I hear him.
Did you have a cost estimate for Delmore? Like, we've got, what, 86 miles of road?
Yeah, they had in their table, and I
Right.
forgot
think
to
it was
bring it.
$4,000.
4,000 is what.
It was
right.
4,000.
I'd be interested in getting another opinion.
And if we tell them we had 68 miles, you know, who's gonna, whatever. Anyway, yes, thank you. I knew that amount, I couldn't recall what it was. So, unless anyone has an issue, I will tell them that we'd like them to do that for us.
Do they have a time frame?
I haven't talked to him physically yet. I wanted to start here, and then I wanted to work backwards, not necessarily pick a date for the road tour till I talk to him, but I wanted to know, given that we typically do it in May, does anybody have some dates that I cannot do the road tour on those dates? So that's why that comment is in there. So, is there,
But we would want their evaluation before
would
we
want
go
their-
on our road tour, correct? So that we
Correct.
can compare their notes to our notes.
absolutely, that would be the plan. So, but I also wanted to see that if you look at, if you just took the Fridays in May, 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, that's Memorial Day weekend. So we'd be, more than likely, I would say, we'd probably be better off in the second half of the month, 16th or the 30th, or sometime in the let's put it this way, the week of the 12th, 19th, or 26th. Does anybody have a date that I can't do it no matter what? We'll work to that once I get something back from Delmore.
Not at the moment.
I'm not aware of anything from my side anyway.
I should be able to make that work.
Everything
Yep.
looks okay?
Mm-hmm.
All
Everything
right.
looks good.
I'll call them, and once I get a timeline from them, I will circle back with you guys and
I'm
give
sorry,
you
Dan, you said the
a week.
16th?
It could be any time the
Awesome.
week of the 12th, 19th, or 26th. I'm
Okay.
gonna kind of hold that to when he tells me they can get here.
So a little later than normal.
Little later than
Okay.
normal if we can.
Those Weekdays work so much nicer than weekends.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we would definitely try to schedule it on a weekday if we can, and I'll just really hedge my bet till I hear from them on when, but I'll take care of that in the next day or so. So, okay, great. We lost our clerk.
Just for a second,
Ah.
that's why I had to.
I say, was the financial reports that bad that you just,
She gonna,
I'm out of here.
It's the new system, Mr. Chairman. We've got to iron out a few,
few glitches?
yeah.
Did we decide on a date?
We're tentative to Delmore's calendar, but no one has any bad dates right now in May that would restrict us. So as soon as I hear from Delmore, I'll circle back with everyone and we'll pick a time. So as far as the financial reports, you should have in your packet the account balances, budget versus actual. All right,
I'll see.
and the transaction report. the transaction listing for the month. And I'm sure that the treasurer has something that she might want to share with us.
Yes, the town has paid for our first quarter of fire protection along with the January settlement for taxes. We ended the year with roughly $55,000 in interest earned, which is $30,000 more than we anticipated. And last week, we had our yearly audit, and everything seemed to go very well.
You hope.
We'll see.
I'm sure it'll be as good as normal. So, all right, then we would need a motion to accept the financial reports and put them on file.
I'll move to accept the financial reports for
December.
December
All right.
2024.
Second?
All right, motion by Linda, second by Jeannie to accept the financial reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Next item of business with the approval of the vouchers, bills, and claims, December 17th through January 20th. Everybody's had a chance to look and sign?
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims from December 17th, 2025 through January 20th, 2025.
All right, motion by Jeannie, second by...
I'm sorry, I corrected December 27th, 2024
That's right.
through January 20th, 2025.
Thank you.
You're
Good.
welcome.
Motion by Jeannie, second by...
Second.
Second by Trent. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approves? Great. All right. What do we have here? Oral committee reports. Well, we have the Plan Commission meeting minutes from Tuesday, November 12th. And those are the only minutes that we have. Does anyone on the board have anything they'd like to report on orally?
Okay, go ahead,
Are you
Linda.
going to talk about the tourism zone?
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yeah,
report on.
the zone did approve Destination Door County's 2025 budget. And they're using some of they had sent a budget, and then we sent it back to them, and they came back with a new budget. Their budget is 6.6 million, and of course, that all comes from room tax dollars. Anything extra that they'll need, should they exceed their budget, will come from reserves. They're actually using over 600,000 that they have in reserves to apply to their budget. And then as of January of this new year, we have 1,576 permits out.
How many?
1,576.
Ooh.
They've added auto pay to the credit card, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. And municipalities will now receive their checks by ACH transfer. I'm sure they've been in touch with Amy on that. As far as Bailey's Harbor request to have some kind of consistent ordinance or whatever, that's still in the works. So that's about it. I don't know if Jeannie had anything she wanted to add to that.
No, they just said Destination Door County went through their stewardship plan.
Oh, that's right.
That was it.
Okay, Mark or Trent, anything to report?
EMR Group's going to be meeting an extra time in February, February 3rd, just to kind of do a big review of the bylaws, get the group together, kind of set expectations for 2025 going forward.
Okay.
Aye.
Mark, anything?
Yeah, the Parks Committee had a little meeting the other night, and you guys were all there. We had the ordinance for the no wake enhancing boats, and as a committee, we couldn't decide on approving it, so we tabled it for, I believe we said a year, and I'd like to get a little more information from the DNR and get them involved a little more, and there are some unhappy customers, but we just didn't think it was the right time with singling out one entity, and it didn't go through.
Okay, thank you much. We'd need a motion to put those minutes from the Plan Commission on file.
So moved.
All right, motion by Linda, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody in the negative? No. Okay, away we go. Next item we have, you have a live microphone there, Mr. Zettel?
I hope so.
We then have Mr. Hugh Zettel from District 14 with a county board report. Go ahead, Hugh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You should have received a summary of the December 17th County Board meeting items in your packet. I just want to touch on a few of them. One was there was a special report that discussed the ambulance transfer process where we went in partnership with our county medical center. Basically, the way it works is the county purchased an additional, or have an additional ambulance. We have 6 paramedics, and they, by law, we prioritize doing 911 first. And in times when those folks are available, they basically support transfers for the county. The way it works is that the county gets fully reimbursed time and material, not just as for their efforts. So basically, the county is made whole relative to the labor and material used to support transfers. And that also includes the hiring of additional staff to support all the billing, since obviously anytime someone gets an ambulance ride, that's covered by insurance, or in some cases not covered by insurance. As an example of that, the county had an estimate of what the age was for the typical patient that gets transferred to another facility that needs care, and they underestimated. Obviously, much more aging in place than in their previous estimates. So they, as you know, or maybe don't know, Medicare doesn't reimburse very well for ambulance rides for transfers. And so basically the hospital had to pay more out of pocket, if you will, to make the county whole for Medicare reimbursement that the county didn't get, okay? So they have some pretty rigorous financial controls in place where they look at the books on a quarterly basis. But the CEO from the hospital reported that transfer times compared to the prior year is down 30%, so 30% reduction. So that's important in a couple ways, right? If you have the inability to transfer someone from to get better care than what they need, that basically sometimes eats up ER beds, right? So folks, can't get into the ER, or if the ER is also crowded, then they take inpatient beds. So that's, additional cost, additional inconvenience for both the patient, family members, waiting to get a transfer to a higher care facility that they need it. And in cases where the county transferred them specifically, instead of having to do a third party, if they needed a third party other than the county, if the county wasn't available. When the county did it, he looked at all those transfers, it was a 45% time savings. So a huge impact, obviously, for quality of life for patients and being responsive, while at the same time, the fact that we had another crew basically available to do 911. So, for example, on a busy 4th of July holiday, all those rigs would be available. They wouldn't say, sorry, we got to do a transfer, because, by state law, the first priority is 911. So they're able to fulfill that mission. And then with, any slack time they'd have, they'd be able to support transfers. So that was some good progress relative to a great public-private partnership example between the county and our county medical center. There were some transfer non-budgeted funds for some maintenance for the Justice Center, roof and energy recovery system that we needed to allocate. And also the county has gotten kind of agreement in the collective bargaining between the EMS services bargaining group and the county. They're still working with the sheriffs. The other, just last thing I want to note that's, good relative to, the transparency and the financial integrity, I think, of the county operations, is that Moody's last December increased the county's rating to AA1. So the only thing left is AAA. So a huge win for the county. So obviously, when we think of the big communications project, to put new towers up in the 2026, 2027 timeframe, that's going to be an item that we'll likely have to bond for, because we're going to be north of, $20-some million to get that done. So having this kind of improved credit rating is huge relative to help us in terms of reducing borrowing costs. So with that, if there's any questions from the board, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Anyone?
Great,
No?
thank you very much.
Thank you, Hugh.
Thanks, you.
I do have one question, not related specifically to Hugh, but just in general. We've had a couple requests on EMR's status on radios, pagers. It's been a couple different things flying around. Have we satisfied that request from the county?
Currently, we haven't satisfied that request. I want to say that in the meetings coming up, Trent is going to address those issues, and then we will get some numbers over to the county.
Within their timeline or close?
Yes.
Okay, great. I did not know that. Thank you. All right. License and permits, you have in your packet the inspection specialists. They're billing for the month, and a very limited number of building permits, as you will see, or zoning permits. Kind of surprising. Usually that's significantly higher. In correspondence, for those of you in the recall during our budget workshop, we set aside some money for the Door County Economic Council Door County Days. We had $1,000 that we budgeted for them coming up in March. And so the question is do we have any specific things that we would like raised from a town perspective that they could use during those sessions? I did have one request from Amy, and I don't know if it's feasible or not, but there's certainly no reason not to ask for it, which is to see if there's some way to limit the fact that we have to pay for postage for all those absentee ballots that everybody gets and then brings back to us. So, but we put all the postage on it, spend a significant amount of money. So I don't know if you think that could fly or not, but we could ask.
It usually has to be specific to Door or Kiwanee County.
County.
It is Door Kiwanee, so
It's only the
that's
Door
not really
Kiwanee-
specific to,
It's only the Door Kiwanee people that return them. Everybody else mails them. But that was the only thing that came up. So if either any of you have a thought with respect to that, share it with us and we can submit that, see if it's gonna go. We have to submit, we have to pay extra money if we actually want to send somebody. Is that my recollection?
I
Or do they
believe the
change?
$1,000 bronze or whatever includes three attendees, but of course you have to pay for
Pay,
your own
right.
room
So
and
it
board
was
and things like that.
anybody in particular
Transportation.
Wants to go.
I've gone, I think, twice in the past, and it's very interesting, visiting the Capitol.
Inauguration and everything? All right. Thanks, Linda. Included in your packet are the signs that it took forever to get, but the signs are there on Glidden Drive. As you see, one there for Deer Path and defines the public access. And then on that same post is the signage that talks about parking, blocking the driveways, private property, closures, et cetera. Those went up about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks at most. He had a terrible time trying to get the oversized signs, and I did not want them to just put up a street sign, so I wanted to have some visibility. And then I had him use the existing posts, so, we'll go from there. So at any rate, I was pleased it took forever, but it's still there. I have also, in my day-to-day conversations with them, reminded him of signage that has yet to be repaired. And we might want to cruise through that list again, Trent, and see if you spot others that need work that haven't, for whatever reason, has slipped through the cracks. Especially some of the ones that were hit by snowplows last year that are leaning. So, any rate,
Just on Glidden Drive or anywhere?
no, anywhere.
Because I've seen two cracked off.
Yeah, so if you know of one, you can either give it to me or give it to Amy or give it to, we can turn it into the county. He's good, but he needs to be prodded occasionally to remind him which ones are on the list. So he'll drive by it 30 times and then catch it. All right, so you also have the Sturgeon Bay Fire Department report and the payment advice on Wisconsin DOT, General Transportation Aids of $57,000. And, you have the November report in there as well. Then you also have a copy of a note that we sent off to the Clark Lake Association. And this is dealing with the fact that Frontier, who has all of the current telephone lines.
Legacy phone lines.
Legacy phone
Yeah.
lines in Jacksonport, are in the process of putting broadband up for Jacksonport. And they have decided that they want to be a little aggressive, since they have the legacy lines around Clark Lake, and so they're expanding into the Clark Lake area. And we just wanted to let the people know on Clark Lake that this is a separate effort above and beyond what we're doing with AT&T. We are still having AT&T put fiber in, and then some people on Clark Lake may have a choice of, 2 vendors or 3, depending on what's going on. And don't know the timeline on any of it yet, but we wanted to inform them. Amy was getting a lot of questions on it from people in the community, so that's the purpose of that. And Gwen, have they sent anything out to the people? Are you aware of?
Yeah, we have been notified We have
Okay.
been notified that Legacy Frontier people have the option of choosing to have Frontier cable as opposed to AT&T cable.
No,
Okay.
But
it's
they're
fiber.
out there and laying it.
Yep, okay,
So,
that's
yeah,
fine. So
they-
I'm curious if
and
they
it-
actually got it out there.
Yeah.
All right, great. Any agenda items for next month?
May I add that in
Well,
that,
it will
in
be
that
in
letter?
March, right?
In March, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. In March.
May I add something, Mr. Chairman, about the letter?
Sure.
We also stated that at the annual meeting on April 22nd, 2025, at 6 PM, AT&T will be here to answer any questions and talk about the deployment. So again, I'm encouraging people to come to that annual meeting or send in questions that you may have, and certainly continue to visit the town's website, because we do update that with any information that we hear from AT&T.
Go ahead.
This Mr. Brunette, who is he?
He's the president of the
of
Clark
what?
Lake Advancements
Oh,
Association.
because it's not indicated who Mr. Brunette was.
Yeah.
Sorry. We knew who he was.
Oh.
He knows.
I didn't know who he was.
And since we're on the AT&T thing, just from an information perspective, I have requested and have not received some timeline information from AT&T. Not in terms of construction or anything along that, but in terms of their percentage of completion, which triggers our payments.
Right.
So 25%, 50%, 90%, whatever. I've got a table together that I'm waiting for information from them. I'll share it with you. But basically, my intention is to try and understand when we need to go borrow funds to pay the bill. And although Robin has assured me it's in my hands 3 different times, I don't have it yet. But I am still working on it, and I haven't forgot about it. So we'll keep on top of that. In the meantime, Amy will keep our money, what we have with the state, making tremendous interest, so we're good
Yes.
to go. All right, so now I'll ask, is there any agenda meetings for the month after next? Well, that would be March. Hearing none. The remaining item on our agenda is a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, Trent, motion to adjourn, second? Second. Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that camera
Good
only
job,
stays on
Dan,
Dan the
before
entire time?
eight.
That camera stays